Welcome to today's Seidokan Saturday. Next, we're going to look at the kata Chinto. Chinto, supposedly, reputedly, is named for a Chinese sailor who got shipwrecked or came to trade, somehow ended up on the shores of Okinawa, brought this particular form. Chinto in our system is the closest we have to a crane-style form, and supposedly the formation of the whole Naha system, I should say, Uechiryu, Gojuryu, and all of those systems from Naha, comes from the Fukian crane systems. And there are several crane systems, white crane, whooping crane, so forth, from Fukian or Fujian, China province, as it was the closest shoreline for trade travel to Okinawa. That makes a whole lot of sense, and especially since Uechi Kambun Sensei went to China specifically to study and brought back forms that are very reminiscent of crane wing type movements. Gankaku is ours. Gankaku. Chinto is ours. Gankaku is the version that Shotokan does, which literally means crane on a rock, basically, and is demonstrated in their postures of standing on one leg. We don't, in Chinto, tend to end up on one leg, although there is the jumping kick in the form, but none of the one-legged crane stances as you would see in Hakutsuru or Gankaku type kata. Really probably the other most common Shorin-ryu-based crane style form is the kata rohai, which is not included in our system. Chinto was transferred then from Chinto, or whoever the creator was, through three basic guys who transmitted it. Arakaki, Shotoku Kian, or Kian Shotoku to be Japanese correct, and Matsumura. Matsumura is the one that is probably most closely linked to the Gankaku of Shotokan in its content. The other two are more Okinawa-ish, I guess, if I want to use that word. Matsumura being one of the more modern iterations of how Okinawa karate evolved. Kian Shotoku taught Shinjato, who taught Toma, and that's how we got our kata. Our version is very similar to another Shorin system known as Matsubayashi Shorin-ryu that was founded by Shoshin Nagamine Shoshin, and that lineage. By the way, Matsubayashi literally is the same kanji as Shorin. They both mean small forest. Sho, small, rin, forest. Matsu, small, bayashi, forest. Hayashi, ha, basically the woods, the forest. So it's just another iteration to separate it as its own system, but still in that Shorin-ryu lineage, which we share. Very similar in the Shoshin Nagamine version to what Toma Sensei got through the Kion lineage. Very, very similar. What else are we looking at? The 45-degree angle is very important in this kata. So Gankaku, again, is performed on the line. We perform it on a straight line, but at a 45-degree angle. The 45-degree angle is very important for forward evasion, around a technique, entry into jamming, getting into position for throws, whether stepping away. And Chinto, as you watch it, is probably the most overtly joint lock throw oriented kata with less focus on strikes and much more focus, very obvious focus on the joint locks and the throws. All kata have them in some balance or degree or another, throws, locks, kicks, punches, etc. The closest the closest Chinto comes to referring to the crane's movement is in the jumping kick and in the wing-like movements that exist in the kata. I believe that's everything I wanted to cover on that. So, without further ado, now it is going to travel, so I'm hoping to try and keep it on camera as much as possible. I may have to shuffle and adjust my feet. Oh, one other thing I did want to mention. When I do a kata, I'm not performing it tournament style. I frequently get, you just walked through it, your stances weren't low enough, you didn't do that. If you come with expectations of what you want to see out of the kata, I'm going to severely disappoint most people. I don't do tournament style. When I tested for my 6th dan under Jody Paul back in 2002, on the board with Anne-Marie and Bruce Heilman, and Kurt Sieber was there, Ed Stiltner, some others from the International Kempo Karate Association organization and their group. I want to say it was Eddie Bethea, but I'm not sure. I don't know for sure. I'm trying to remember who it was. Anyway, a lot of people on the board. But one of the comments that I got after that stuck with me from Kurt Sieber Sensei was that my power was very evident and overt, and he had expected more subtlety in my movement and not such show of power. And that kind of stuck with me, and it makes a lot of sense now as I've progressed a little bit, I hope, that I don't feel the need to physically put everything into every punch and power. A lot is accomplished, especially in throwing, with posture, with body position and turning, and not so much with brute force. If you put yourself in the right position and create the kuzushi or imbalance of your opponent, it should take very little to throw them at that point. Self-defense wise. Now, if both opponents are trying to throw each other, then you get that whole judo power struggle. When you turn it into a competition, it becomes a whole other thing. But if you're talking in terms of somebody coming at you and trying to do something to you, and your goal is simply to defend, then you can create the kuzushi, and the taking of the balance is very much easier to do. And even in judo competition, once one of the competitors gets the grip he wants and creates the imbalance in his opponent that he wants, then is when the throw is executed. It may only be that momentary, but it becomes a fairly simple matter to effect the throw once proper setup is taking place. So, let's see, angle, 45-degree line instead of straight line, Chinto and Gankaku, lineages, history, joint locks, throws. I believe we're there. Without further ado, Chinto! That's it. Chinto. Fighting on the angle, throws, locks, etc. Until next week, thank you for joining as always. Like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, tell a friend, make a comment, be kind. But most importantly, until next week, as always, let's keep practicing.